I'm Dee with Modesty Matters. We're a business dedicated to providing products for modest-minded families. Today, I'm going to show you how to make our boutique pillowcase dress. The first thing you're going to need to do is print off or take out your pattern, your instructions, and you're going to need some tape. You'll also need your primary fabric, your accent fabric or your ruffle, and 60 inches of 7/8 width grosgrain ribbon. Okay, now our patterns are numbered so that you can assemble them. I am making the extra small, so we only need the first four sections of our pattern. Now, what you do is you line it up so that you can see underneath. For instance, I see the modestymatters.net, and I can line it up just like this. And I'm going to tape it in place. They're all going to overlap. There we go. Now it takes a little bit of work up front, but you're going to have a pattern that's so much more sturdy than any tissue paper pattern, and it'll last for so much longer. You may want to tape on the back also. And there it is. That wasn't bad. Now we're just simply going to cut our pattern out and prepare to use it on our fabric. Alright, now here's our pattern all cut out and ready. I want to point out some things about our material now. This material is directional, meaning that our flowers all point up, so we want to be mindful of that as we're laying our pattern out. Another thing, I have our fold right here toward me, and way over here is our selvage. You want to stay away from the selvage. You don't want that in your dress. What we're going to do is fold this over, and we need it the width of our dress. We have it lined up with the width of our dress. Okay? So we're going to have a fold on this side, and we're going to have a fold on this side. Now because of the way we folded this, our material is 4 layers thick that we're laying this on. We have a single fold over here, and then we have a double fold over here. Alright, now that we have our pattern piece pinned in place, I want to point out we're going to cut right along here and right along here. But as we cut this line, be so careful not to cut this top fold. We're just going to cut this material right under here, just along there. As I mentioned, we're going to be very careful cutting along here that we don't cut that folded material. Okay, once we open it up, this is what it looks like. All right, now we're going to set this material aside, and we're going to cut out our ruffle. Our selvage is over here and our fold is over here, and I'm simply going to double that over again. Take a ruler, and this is the simplest way to do it. To measure off your 3 inches, and then take a pencil and a ruler and just simply mark it off, and then go back and cut it. Now we're going to need 2 strips exactly like this, 3 inches wide. I want to show you I have both of our 3-inch strips. I'm going to pin them at this end, and I'm going to take them to the machine. I'm going to do a straight stitch right across here at 5/8 inch and come back and do a zigzag to finish that seam. As you look at the sewing machine, you're going to see right up here it says 5/8. That's what I'm talking about when I say 5/8 inch seam allowance. Most of the time you're sewing for yourself, you're going to line up the edge of your material with that line. I put down a presser foot, and then I come over here to the knob, turn it, and that puts our needle down. This is needle down position, and that's how we're going to start all our seams. I'm going to go forward, I stop, and I'm going to go in reverse, and in doing that, that locks that stitch in place. So we have a nice secure beginning and ending. The same thing at the end, beginning and at the end. Now what I'm going to do is go back and zigzag the very edge so that we don't have any fraying. We have stitched our two strips together. We're going to hem what's going to be the bottom of our ruffle. To do that, we're going to take it to the ironing board, and I'm going to measure out about 1/4 inch. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a rolled hem. So I rolled up about 1/4 inch, press that, roll it again over itself, and press that again. And then I pin that in place. I'm going to do that all the way across the strip. Alright, now I'm going to hem along the bottom of our ruffle. I'm using a straight stitch, and I'm just going to go right along this crease that we made here, all the way down. Starting in needle down position. I want to point out to you, this is a good position to have your hands in when you're sewing. Just one hand over here and one hand here to steady the fabric. There we have our seam. What we're going to do now is gather our ruffle, and we're going to use the needle and thread method. I've got my needle here, and I've got my thread doubled over and well knotted at the very end. What I'm going to do is take this raw edge of this ruffle up here, and I'm going to put my needle in and bring it back out, and I'm just going to keep feeding that material onto my needle, just like this. And every once in a while I'll pull it through. Now it's okay if your stitches are not perfectly even at this point, because we're going to pull this out later anyway. So I just go along here and I just feed that material onto that needle. Here we have our ruffle, and I've gathered our edge with our needle and thread method, and you can see how much control we have of that. I love that method. It's a great way to start. Now here's our primary material, and I'm going to lay that out just like this. Then I'm going to take our ruffle and I'm going to turn it so we have basically right sides together. The side of the material that we want to see and the side of the ruffle that we want to see are going to be together. Now I'm going to pin this to the edge. Okay, now I've pinned this to the edge right here. I'm going to come all the way over here to the other edge, and I'm going to pin it there as well. I'm going to find the middle of our dress, which of course is easy because there's a crease there, and the middle of our ruffle, and I'm going to pin that. Now what that does is that just gives us a visual guideline of where we want to pull and put our ruffles and our gathers. So we're going to evenly space those along here. We're going to pin right in the middle. That'll help us. And right in the middle over here as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to the machine now, and I'm going to straight stitch at 5/8 inch right along here. Stopping as I go, I'm going to be adjusting these gathers in place so we have it nice and even. When I'm all done with that, I'm going to clip this thread and just pull it out. So let's go to the machine. Alrighty, needle down position. Start reverse. And then we're going to go nice and slowly, making sure that our gathers are going to be even. Now we're going to go back and we're going to clip this basting thread and we're going to pull it right out of here. Now I'm going to zigzag the edge here just to prevent any fraying. Okay, we're almost done with our sweet little ruffle. I'm bringing it back to the ironing board and I'm going to iron it up. This ledge right here pointing up. I'm going to bring it over then and I'm going to press it on the other side as well. The next thing I'm going to do is called top stitching. And what I mean by that is I'm going to take this back to the machine and I'm going to do a straight stitch right along here. That's going to secure this in place and keep it from folding back down while the child is wearing it. Just one straight stitch all the way along here. What I'm doing is I've lined my primary fabric right here, this seam right here. I've lined it up with the 1/4 inch mark right up here. And I'm going to sew a straight stitch all the way along, lining that up. Alright, now as you can see, I top stitched this right along here to secure that in place. You are done with your ruffle now, but let me point out another option for you. If you don't want to do a ruffle, you can take eyelet like this and put along here instead. You would do the same thing as far as turning it this way, stitching it in place, turning it back over, and top stitching. So you do the same thing, you would just have your bottom hem done for you and you would have the gathering done for you, and that's a very charming look also. Alright, with our ruffle done, we are going to do our side seam. Remember, we only have one side seam. What we're going to do is take this seam right here and line it up. We want to pin that in place because we want to get that one right. And we're going to pin right along the edge here, right on up. Now we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to straight stitch at 5/8 inch. Here we are lined up with our 5/8 inch mark, and I start forward and I reverse. I go all the way up that seam. Alright, now that I've completed my straight stitch all the way along here, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the zigzag stitch to keep this from fraying. Right along the raw edge here. Now that I've done our straight stitch and our zigzag stitch on our one seam, I'm going to iron it all over to one side. And it's always a good idea to iron your seams. Now with our right sides together, what I'm going to do is come all the way along our top raw edges here and do what's called a rolled hem, just like we did on the bottom. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to iron it in place. I'm going to roll it again on itself. Iron that in place, and I'm going to pin it. I'm going to do that all the way around our top. All right, girls and ladies, I have rolled and pressed this and pinned it in place all along here, the underarm first. Then I came back and I went along the top and I rolled it and pressed it in place about 1/4 inch. Then I pinned it. I'm going to take this to the machine now, and I'm going to go all the way along the edge with a straight stitch, securing this down all the way around. All right, starting in the needle down position, I'm going to go forward and reverse, and I'm going to go all the way around this edge. Nice and slowly so we always catch it. All right, now that you've gone around the armhole, I'm going to show you how to pivot when you come to a corner. You're going to come straight up to that corner, just like this, and I'm going to raise the presser foot, and I'm going to pivot my material. Now note that I have my needle down. You have to keep your needle down for this to work. Then I'm going to start again. And there we have it. We've finished our top edge. What we're going to do now is take our slide ruler and put it at 1 1/4 inch, right there. And we're going to fold down this top edge here. And this is going to be our casing for our grosgrain ribbon. Going to fold it down, press it in place, and pin it. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. All right, now that we have measured, pressed, and pinned, we're going to take this to the machine and we're going to do a straight stitch right over the top of this straight stitch right here. And that's going to form the casing for our ribbon. All right, girls and ladies, we have finished our casing now for our ribbon on both sides. Now you need to take your ribbon, cut it in equal lengths, so that's 30 inches long. And we're going to take our liquid fabric sealant and put it right along the edge of both of these sides. And that's going to keep those from fraying and making a mess. And I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to fold this over just like this, holding it in place, and I'm going to push that through our casing. Such an easy way to put our ribbon through the casing. Pulling that out to the other side. And there we have it. Beautiful. Do the same thing on the other side. And now I'm going to turn it so that you can see our beautiful pillowcase dress. So sweet. And here it is, our boutique pillowcase dress. It is such a sweet little jumper for your little girl. Congratulations. Join us at modestymatters.net for other great downloadable projects.